The alarm screamed through every corridor of the colony's ship Wanderer. Red lights flashed in angry patterns across the bridge as Captain Daniel Carter gripped the arms of his command chair. Numbers scrolled across his screens, and every single one of them spelled disaster. Engine 3 is completely dead, reported the chief engineer over the crackling comm system. Engine 2 is losing power fast. We've got maybe 6 hours before we're floating dead in space. Daniel looked at the star map displayed on the main screen. The nearest human outpost was 3 weeks away. At full speed, they didn't have full speed anymore. They barely had any speed at all. Behind him, the communications officer worked frantically at her station. Still no response to our distress signal, Captain, she said quietly. The Wanderer carried 3,000 people, families, children, scientists and farmers and engineers, all headed to establish humanity's 5th colony beyond Earth's solar system. They had passed through the verified safe routes and ventured into a shortcut that the navigation charts said was empty and safe. The charts were wrong. Something had torn through their engine compartment like a knife through paper. Debris from an ancient battle perhaps, or a micrometeorite shower that the sensors hadn't detected. It didn't matter what had caused it. What mattered was that they were dying and no one was close enough to help. Daniel had sent the distress call on all frequencies. The message went out in every language humanity knew, including the 3 alien languages they had learned from their limited contact with other species. It broadcast their position, their situation, and a simple plea for help. That was 4 hours ago, Captain. I'm picking up something, the sensor officer said suddenly. A ship just dropped out of hyperspace, distance about 2 million km. Daniel felt hope flare in his chest. Hail them all frequencies. The main screen flickered and changed. The face that appeared was not human. It had large compound eyes that glittered like cut gems and mandibles that clicked together when it spoke. The translator software struggled for a moment, then produced words in English. This is Captain Zixthar of the merchant vessel Golden Wing. The alien said, we received your distress call. What is your situation, if you have distress? We're one, Daniel explained quickly. Engine failure. Life support would hold for maybe 4 days if they rationed everything perfectly. They needed fuel, spare parts, anything that could help them limp to safety. Zix's mandibles clicked together in a pattern that might have been the alien equivalent of thinking. The Quilly, as the translator identified his species, were traitors. Daniel had read about them in the first contact reports. They were not a major power in the galaxy, just merchants and scavengers who moved between systems, trading goods. We carry general supplies, Zixthar said slowly. Some fuel reserves, medical supplies, but we are small ship. We cannot tow vessel of your size. Anything you can spare, Daniel said. We can pay. We have trade goods, rare earth, minerals from our last stop, computer technology. We can arrange payment from our government when we reach the colony. The alien captain's eyes seemed to study Daniel for a long moment. Then Zixthar turned away from the screen and spoke to someone off camera. The language was a series of clicks and whistles that the translator couldn't process. When he turned back, he made a gesture that might have been a nod. We will transfer supplies, Zixthar said. Half our fuel reserves, medical supplies, navigation data for nearest safe Station, this will get you to safety. Relief washed over Daniel like a wave. Thank you so much. What do you need in return? Name your price. Zix's mandibles clicked again. Price? You are dying, we help. This is what civilized beings do, but your fuel. Daniel protested. Your supplies, you must need them for your own trade. Roots, let us compensate you. We will manage, the quarry captain said simply. You have younglings aboard. Yes, I see. And your crew manifest. We have younglings too, we understand. Over the next 3 hours, the Golden Wing matched velocity with the Wanderer. The aliens worked efficiently, transferring fuel through emergency umbilicals, sending over medical supplies and spare parts that might help. Daniel watched the cargo manifest grow and felt his chest tighten with emotion. The Qualari were giving them half of everything they had, fuel that would take weeks to replace, medical supplies that probably cost a fortune, navigation data that was worth money in the trading business. When the transfer was complete, Daniel opened the channel. Again, Captain Zixthar, you've saved 3,000 lives today. My government want to thank you properly. Please at least give us coordinates where we can send payment. Zixth waved a delicate claw hand dismissively. No payment needed. You would do same. I think you seem like good people. How can you know that? Daniel asked. You just met us. I choose to believe best of others, the alien said, has served me well so far. Go safely, Captain Daniel Carter. May your colony prosper. The screen went dark. Daniel watched as the Golden Wing's engines flared bright and the alien ship accelerated away toward the nearest refueling station. That station was weeks out of the Qualari's original route. They had just sacrificed months of profit and put themselves in danger for strangers. Daniel sat in his chair for a long time after the alien ship vanished from sensors. His crew worked around him, feeding the precious fuel into their wounded engines, integrating the spare parts, plotting the course to safety, using the navigation data. The Wanderer would live, his people would live. He called up the ship's official log and began to record an entry. His voice was steady, but his hand shook slightly as he typed. This day the colony ship Wanderer was saved from certain destruction by Captain Zixthar of the Qualari species and the crew of the merchant vessel Golden Wing. They gave us half their fuel, medical supplies worth a fortune, and navigation data that likely represented years of their own exploration. They asked nothing. In return, they saved 3,000 human lives and expected no payment, no trade, no treaty, just kindness to strangers. Daniel paused, thinking about the alien captain's words. You would do same, I think. He continued recording. I hereby make this promise on behalf of all souls aboard this vessel. Humanity will remember what the Qualari did today. We will remember Captain Zixthar. We will remember that when we were helpless and dying, a species we barely knew gave everything they could spare to save us. And if the day ever comes when the Qualari need help, when they are the ones in danger, humanity will answer. We will answer with everything we have. He ended the recording and sealed it into the permanent archive. Around him, the Wanderer's engines hummed with new life, carrying them toward safety on fuel paid for by alien kindness. Daniel looked out at the stars and made a silent vow. The galaxy would learn that humanity never forgot a kindness. Never. Captain Lisa Monroe walked through the crowded markets of Meridian Station with her data pad. Clutched in one hand, the massive space station orbited a neutral world and served as the biggest trading hub in this sector of the galaxy. Thousands of species mixed here, buying and selling everything from raw minerals to exotic foods to information itself. Lisa was a human diplomatic officer assigned to monitor trade relations and keep Earth's government informed about galactic commerce. It was usually boring work. Today was different. She found the quarry merchant in a small stall near the station's eastern docking ring. The alien was small, barely reaching Lisa's shoulder, with the same compound eyes and delicate mandibles that all Quillari had. He was trying to sell navigation charts to a tall, gray-skinned Vel trader. Your charts are outdated, the Vel said coldly. I can get better data from the consortium database. Why would I buy from you? Oh, these charts include safe routes through the Kepler Nebula, the Quillari said. His voice sounded tired. Very valuable for ships that need to avoid the patrol zones. Not anymore, the Vel replied. The consortium has negotiated new patrol agreements. Your routes are worthless. The tall alien walked away without another word. Lisa watched the Quillari's shoulders slump. She approached the stall carefully. Excuse me, I'm looking for information about Quillari trade routes. The merchant looked up at her with those glittering compound eyes. You are human. Yes, I am sorry, we have very little trade with your people. Our routes do not connect well with your colonies. I'm not here to buy, Lisa said gently. I'm here to understand what's happening to your people. Over the next hour, the Quillari merchant, who introduced himself as Pixar, told her everything. The Vel consortium had been slowly destroying Quillari trade for the past 5 years. They undercut prices. They bought out shipping contracts. They established new routes that bypassed Quillari space entirely. The consortium wanted the Quillari home system because it sat at a perfect junction for hyperspace travel. Once the Quillari economy collapsed completely, the Vel would offer to buy their system for almost nothing. It was all legal. According to galactic commerce law, it was also slowly killing an entire species. Why doesn't anyone help you? Lisa asked. Pixar made a clicking sound. That might have been a sad laugh. We are small. We have no powerful allies. We have no resources that the major powers want. The galaxy does not care about species like us. We are just traders. Just merchants, not important. Lisa returned to her quarters on the station and started searching through historical databases. She entered search terms: Quillari human contact, first encounters, rescue operations. The results were sparse. Humanity had only been traveling in deep space for 50 years. Contact with the Quillari was minimal. Then she found it. The log entry from Captain Daniel Carter, the Wanderer incident. She read the entire report 3 times, feeling something grow tight in her chest. She pulled up more records. The Wanderer had made it to safety. All 3,000 colonists survived. That colony was now one of humanity's most successful settlements. Some of those colonists were still alive. Today, the Quillari had saved 3,000 human lives and asked for nothing. Lisa sent an encrypted message to Earth. Immediately, it went through official channels to the Colonial Congress, the governing body that managed human interests across all settled worlds. She attached Daniel Carter's log, she attached her own report about what the Vell Consortium was doing. She made a recommendation that she knew was crazy from a political standpoint, helped the Quillari not because it made economic sense, but because humanity owed them. The response came back in 2 days. It was faster than she expected. The Colonial Congress voted unanimously. Humanity would extend full economic alliance to the Quillari people, all of them, immediately. Lisa could barely believe it when she read the orders. She was authorized to negotiate trade agreements, establish shipping partnerships, and coordinate with the Human Defense Fleet for a training exercise in Quillari space. Economics didn't matter. The strategic value didn't matter. A debt was owed, and humanity was going to pay it. She met with Pixter again the next day. The merchant looked confused when she asked him to gather all the Quillari traders on the station for a meeting. 30 Quillari showed up in a rented conference room. They looked worried. Meetings called by major species usually meant more bad news. Lisa stood before them with her data pad. 50 years ago, one of your ships saved 3,000 humans. The merchant vessel Golden Wing, captained by Zixthar. Do any of you know him? The Quillari looked at each other. One older merchant raised a claw hand. Zixth was my uncle. He died 10 years ago, but yes, I know the story. He gave half his fuel to a dying human ship, nearly bankrupted himself doing it. He saved all of them. Lisa said, every single human on that ship survived because of your uncle's kindness. Those 3,000 people had children. Those children had children. Because of one Quillari merchant, there are now tens of thousands of humans alive who wouldn't exist otherwise. Quillari still looked confused. Lisa smiled. Humanity never forgot what Captain Zixthar did, and we never will. As of today, Earth and all human colonies are extending full trade alliance to the Quillari people. We will route our shipping through your space. We will offer preferential trade agreements, and the Human Defense Fleet will be conducting training exercises in your home system for the next 6 months. One of the younger Quillari spoke up hesitantly. You saved our people when we had nothing to offer. Lisa said, you asked for no payment. You expected nothing in return. That's exactly why we're helping you. Now, this is what civilized beings do. The words were the same ones Captain Zixthar had spoken 50 years ago. Several of the Quillari recognized them. Their mandibles clicked in. What Lisa had learned was a sound of deep emotion. News of the Human Alliance spread through galactic trade networks within hours. The Vell Consortium sent an ambassador to Meridian Station within a week. He was a tall Vell named Corthan, dressed in expensive robes that marked him as high-ranking. Lisa met him in the same conference room where she had spoken to the Quillari. This makes no economic sense, Corrin said bluntly. Quillari system has minimal resources. Their trade routes are inefficient. You gain nothing by allying with them. Then 7. We gain honor, Lisa replied. Honor does not appear on balance sheets. Maybe that's your problem, not ours. Corrin leaned forward. The consortium has invested significant resources in acquiring the Quillari system. We have legal rights to their trade contracts. You are interfering in established commerce. Lisa pulled up a display on the conference room screen. It showed the Wanderer 50 years ago dying in space. It showed the Golden Wing approaching. It showed the fuel transfer that saved 3,000 lives 50 years ago. The Quillari gave everything they had to save people they had never met. She said they expected nothing, they asked for nothing, but humanity remembers. We will always remember, and we will not stand by while you destroy the people who taught us what true kindness looks like. This is irrational, Kaur then said. This is human, Lisa replied. Get used to it. The Vel ambassador stood and left without another word. Within a month, the consortium quietly withdrew from Quillari space. The economic pressure disappeared. It wasn't worth fighting humanity over one small system, especially when humans seemed willing to act irrationally. Lisa received a message from Earth 3 months later. It was from the grandson of Daniel Carter, the captain who had made the promise. He was an old man now, but his message was simple. Thank you for remembering. My grandfather would be proud. Lisa stood at the observation window of Meridian Station and watched Quillari ships moving through the traffic lanes. They flew alongside human vessels, now partners instead of forgotten merchants. The galaxy thought humanity was being foolish. They didn't understand, but they would learn. Humanity never forgot a kindness, and the galaxy was about to discover what that really meant. The Galactic Council chamber was built to hold representatives from 200 different species. Today it was packed beyond capacity. Ambassador Peter Grant sat in the human delegation section and watched as species he had never even heard of crowded into the viewing galleries. The topic of today's emergency session was simple: humanity's irrational behavior was disrupting galactic politics. Krev Dominion representative stood first. She was a tall reptilian species with silver scales and cold yellow eyes. The humans must be stopped. They interfere in matters that do not concern them. They protect species that have no strategic value. They honor debts that any reasonable civilization would have forgotten decades ago. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Peter waited his turn to speak, watching the other delegates carefully. The galaxy's major powers all seemed to agree on one thing: humanity was becoming a problem. The Vel Consortium representative spoke next. 47 incidents in the last 10 years, 47 times that. Humanity has intervened to help other species based on old favors. They maintain what they call the kindness archive, a database of every being who ever helped a human. They track these interactions for generations and act on them regardless of current political situations. Peter stood when it was finally humanity's turn. The Dominion and the consortium seemed troubled by the fact that we remember our friends. Perhaps you should try it sometime. You might find it beneficial. This is not friendship. The Krev representative snapped. This is political chaos. You cannot run a stable civilization on sentiment. Really? Peter pulled up a holographic display. Let me show you what sentiment built. The first image showed a Thrari medical ship. 30 years ago, this vessel shared vaccine research with a human plague ship. They asked for nothing in return. Last month, when the Threnari faced their own plague, humanity sent every medical researcher we had and enough supplies to treat their entire population. We bankrupted our medical reserves to help them. The next image showed a H-engineer. This is Tormek. 20 years ago, he spent 3 weeks helping repair a damaged human science Vessel in deep space, when the Krev Dominion arrested him last year on false espionage charges. Human special forces broke him out of a military prison. We risked a war to save one alien engineer. More images. Appeared a Dalvex trader who had given food to hungry human colonists. A minor pilot who had shared navigation data, a real teacher who had helped human children learn mathematics on a frontier station. Every single one had been helped by humanity when they needed it, regardless of whether it made political sense. You call this chaos? Peter said, we call it civilization. Real civilization. Not the kind built on conquest or profit, but the kind built on actually caring about the people who care about you. The Vel representative made a dismissive gesture. You are young species, you will learn. Everyone is idealistic when they first reach the stars, but the galaxy runs on power and profit. Always has, always will. Then maybe it's time for a change, Peter said quietly. The session ended without any formal action. The major powers couldn't actually stop humanity from honoring its debts. There was no law against being grateful, but Peter could see the concern in their faces. They were starting to understand that humanity wasn't going to outgrow this behavior. If anything, they were doubling down on it. 3 months later, Peter was back on Earth for consultations. He sat in a secure briefing room with the Secretary of Colonial Affairs, a sharp woman named Karen Phillips, who had been managing humanity's expansion for a decade. The archive is causing problems, Karen said, pulling up data on her screen. The major powers are monitoring it. They're concerned. Good, Peter replied. They should be concerned. Karen looked at him seriously. Do you know what we have in the archive now? 17,000 individual entries, specific beings who helped humans over the last 70 years. Another 8,000 entries for organizations, ships, and groups. We track every kindness, every favor, every moment when someone helped us for no reason, and we honor every single one. Peter said, that's what worries the Council, Karen explained. They see it as a weapon. They're right. In a way, we've turned gratitude into a form of power. Peter nodded slowly. So, what are we going to do about it? Karen smiled. Make it bigger. I want every human colony to maintain its own local archive. I want every human ship captain to file reports on helpful encounters. I want this embedded in our culture so deeply that it becomes impossible to separate humanity from this idea. We remember our friends. We honor our debts forever. Order went out to all human settlements. Within a week, the Kindness Archive became official policy. Children in human schools learned about Captain Zix Thar and the Golden Wing. They learned about the Thrari medical ship and the H-engineer. Every human grew up understanding that their species paid its debts. The galaxy watched with growing unease. Peter was at a diplomatic reception on Meridian Station when he saw the first real sign that something had changed. A Thrari ambassador approached him with 2 other beings. One was from a species Peter didn't recognize. The other was Dalvex, a mammalian race with thick fur and large eyes. Ambassador Grant, the Thranari said, formally, we wish to establish something similar to your Kindness Archive. The Dalvex Confederacy has agreed to participate. We want to create an alliance based on mutual aid and remembered kindness. Peter felt his breath catch. You want to formalize it? No, you showed us a better way, the Thrari explained. For generations we conducted trade and diplomacy based purely on immediate benefit, help someone only if they can help you back. Right now, but watching humanity we learned something long-term. Relationships built on trust and gratitude are more stable than any treaty based on mutual fear. The unrecognized species spoke for the first time. My people are the Kelim, we are minors, we have little political power. But we once helped a human survey team escape a cave-in. Humanity sent engineers to help us improve our mining safety. They asked for nothing. Now we ask you, can we join this alliance? We want to be part of something built on kindness instead of fear. Peter wanted to laugh or cry or maybe both. Of course, everyone who believes in this is welcome. Word spread quickly. Within a year, 23 species had joined what was being called the Mutual Aid Concorded. It wasn't a military alliance. It wasn't a trade bloc. It was something new. Species who agreed to help each other. And remember, when they were helped, the major powers watched with growing alarm as their traditional diplomatic tools stopped working. You couldn't intimidate species who had powerful friends backing them. You couldn't economically strangle traders who had access to an entire network of alternative routes and partners. The old tactics of divide and conquer failed when the targets actually cared about each other. Peter stood before the Galactic Council again 2 years later. This time he wasn't defending humanity's behavior. He was there to make an announcement. The Mutual Aid Concordant now includes 47 member species, he said calmly. We represent approximately 1/5 of the galactic economy and 1/4 of all space-faring civilizations. We are not a threat to anyone. We simply choose to remember our friends and honor our debts. Anyone is welcome to join us. The Krev representative stood. And if we don't join, what then? Peter smiled. Then you continue as you are, but understand this: when your people need help, when disaster strikes, or when you're vulnerable, we will remember how you treated those who trusted you. The galaxy is watching now. Everyone is learning that kindness has value, that memory has power. You can adapt to this new reality, or you can be left behind. The chamber erupted in angry shouting from some delegations and cheers from others. Peter sat down and watched the chaos with satisfaction. The galaxy was changing. Humanity had shown them a different path. Not everyone would take it, but enough would, and that was all they needed. Outside the council chamber, a Quillari merchant named Kix Ren waited for Peter. She was young, barely an adult by her species standards. Ambassador Grant, she said shyly, I wanted to thank you. Peter felt emotion well up in his chest. Your grandfather changed the galaxy, even if he didn't know it. He just did what was right, Kixon said, but humanity remembered. You honored a simple act of kindness for 70 years. Now look at what you've built. Peter looked around at the delegates from dozens of species, all talking about the Concordat, all debating whether to join. We didn't build this alone, he said. Your grandfather started it by believing the best of strangers. We just made sure that belief was justified. Admiral Christine Hayes was reviewing supply reports when the priority alert flashed across every screen on the bridge. The klaxon sounded once sharp and urgent. Every officer on the command deck of the carrier Defiant snapped to attention. Admiral were receiving emergency transmissions from the Quillari home system, her communications. Officer reported multiple Krev warships have crossed into their territory. It's an invasion. Christine was already moving toward the tactical display. How many ships? Initial count shows 47 Krev vessels, battle cruisers, destroyers, and support craft. They're making straight for the Quillari home world. Number. Christine felt ice settle in her stomach. The Third Fleet was currently 3 days away from Quillari space. She pulled up the diplomatic channels and saw that Earth was already transmitting protests to the Krev Dominion. The responses were cold and formal. The Krev claimed they were enforcing old territorial rights, legal justification for conquest, dressed up in diplomatic language. She thought about the Kindness Archive. The very first entry, Captain Zixthar giving half his fuel to save 3,000 humans. That debt was over 80 years old now. Most of the people on that colony ship were dead, but the debt remained. Christine opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, battle stations, set course for the Quillari home system. Maximum speed. Her second in command, Captain Alex Morgan, looked at her with concern. Admiral, we don't have authorization from Earth yet. This could start a war. The Quillari saved our people when we were nobody. Christine said, I'm not waiting for permission to do the right thing. Third Fleet consisted of 23 human warships, not enough to face the Krev invasion force in direct combat, but Christine wasn't planning to fight alone. She opened diplomatic channels to every species in the mutual aid Concordat. This is Admiral Hayes of the Human Defense Fleet. The Krev Dominion has invaded Quillari space. We are responding under the terms of mutual defense. All Concordat members who can reach the system in time are requested to assist. The responses started coming in within minutes. The Thranari pledged 8 medical frigates and 2 escort carriers. The H Collective sent 5 heavy cruisers. The Dalviks added 12 destroyers. The Minar Republic contributed a full battle group, one by one species who had learned humanity's philosophy, committed ships to the defense of the Quillari, not because they owed the Quillari anything, because they had learned to value the bonds of remembered kindness. The Defiant led the Third Fleet into Quillari space. 3 days later, they emerged from hyperspace to find the system already under siege. Krev ships surrounded the home world, bombarding defensive stations. Quillari civilian vessels were fleeing in every direction. All ships defensive formation. Christine ordered, protect the civilian evacuation routes. Communications. Hail the Krev commander. The screen flickered to show a Krev admiral with scarred silver scales and calculating yellow eyes. Human Admiral Hayes, you are interfering in Dominion military operations. Withdraw or face the consequences. The Quillari are under our protection, Christine said firmly. You have one chance to withdraw peacefully. The Krev admiral made a dismissive gesture. You have 23 ships. We have 47. Your mathematics skills are lacking. Oh, actually, Christine said with a cold smile, my count shows 86 ships about to drop out of hyperspace. Behind you, the Kree admiral's eyes widened slightly. The tactical display lit up with new contacts as Concordat vessels arrived. Trinari H. Dulvks, Minar Kelim, and a dozen other species. Ships of all sizes and capabilities, all broadcasting the same message. They stood with the Quillari. Alex Morgan stood beside Christine watching the display. They came, all of them came. They learned what we taught them. Christine said quietly, never forget kindness. The Krev Admiral's expression shifted from confidence to uncertainty. This is not your fight. Most of you have no connection to the Quillari at all. Quote, no in time, no intestine. Graham, a Thranari captain, appeared on the shared channel. The Quillari have connections to humanity. Humanity has connections to us. We honor those bonds. That is how civilization should work. H. Commander added, you invaded, expecting the Quillari to stand alone. You miscalculated. They have friends who remember. The standoff lasted for 610 hours. The Krev fleet was powerful, but they now faced a combined force that outnumbered them nearly 2-1. More importantly, they faced species who were willing to fight together to risk themselves for each other based on bonds of trust and remembered kindness. The Krev Admiral finally transmitted a retreat order. His ships withdrew to the edge of the system and jumped away. The invasion was over before a single shot was fired. Christine stood on the bridge of the Defiant and watched the Krev vessels disappear. Around her, the officers were celebrating quietly, but she felt something deeper than victory. She felt like she was witnessing the birth of something new. Open a channel to all concorded vessels, she said. Dozens of faces appeared on her screens. Aliens of every type from species she knew well and some she had only just met today. All of them had come to fight for the Quillari. I want to thank each of you, Christine said. You came when we called. You risked your ships and your people for a species that some of you barely know. You did it because you believe in something bigger than treaties or trade agreements. Adolph's captain spoke up. We came because humanity taught us to remember. 84 years ago, Aquilari merchant saved 3,000 humans. Your species never forgot. You showed the galaxy that debts of gratitude matter, that kindness has value. We are here because we believe that now too. Christine noticed a small Quillari vessel approaching the fleet. Its identification broadcast showed it as a civilian ship. She accepted the incoming transmission. An elderly Quillari appeared on the screen. Her compound eyes were dim with age, but her mandibles clicked with energy. I am Kix Ren, granddaughter of Zeeks Thar, the merchant who saved your colony ship long ago. Christine felt her throat tighten. We remember him. We will always remember him. Quote, my grandfather did a simple thing, Kix said. He saw people dying and helped them. He never expected this, never imagined that one act of kindness would someday lead to an entire fleet coming to save his people. Your grandfather showed us what we could be, Christine replied. He believed we were good people worth saving. We spent the last 84 years proving him right. The old Quillari was quiet for a moment. The Krev believed we were alone, weak, unimportant. They thought no one would care if they took our world. They were wrong, Alex Morgan said from beside Christine. You're not alone. You never will be. Again, over the next week, human engineers worked alongside Thranari technicians to repair damaged quarry stations. As security forces helped strengthen the planet's defenses, Dolph's traders established new supply lines. The Minar sent teachers to help educate young Quillari about galactic politics and defense. Christine walked through. Temporary command center on the Quillari. Home world and watch species working. Together, there was no formal command. Structure, no one was in charge. They just cooperated naturally, helping where help was needed, sharing resources and expertise. A young human lieutenant approached her. Admiral, we're getting reports from across the galaxy. The Krev invasion attempt is major news. Everyone wants to know why so many species came to defend the Quillari. What are they saying? Christine asked. Most are confused. They don't understand the conquered. They think it must be a military alliance or a trade bloc. They can't believe that we all came just because we care about each other. Artist, Christine smiled. Let them be confused. They'll understand eventually, or they'll be left behind while the rest of us build something better. She looked out the window at the planet below. Quillari cities glowed in the darkness, undamaged, safe because beings from across the galaxy had chosen to protect them, all because one merchant had chosen kindness. 84 years ago, the galaxy was changing. The old powers built on fear and profit were starting to crack. In their place, something new was growing, an alliance built on memory, gratitude, and the simple belief that kindness mattered. Christine opened a secure channel to Earth. Mission accomplished. The Quillari are safe, and we just showed the galaxy what happens when you threaten our friends. We don't just remember the kindness we received, we defend it. The response from Earth was brief. Well done, Admiral. The whole galaxy is watching now. Let's make sure they learn the right lesson. Christine closed the channel and returned to her work. There would be more challenges. The major powers wouldn't give up their old ways easily, but for the first time in galactic history, they faced opposition from something they couldn't intimidate or buy off. An alliance built on bonds stronger than fear. Humanity had never forgotten a kindness. Now the galaxy was starting to understand what that really meant. Captain Ryan Foster stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Unity and watched the stars stream past. Through the viewport, the ship was a joint project between humanity and the Quillari, built in shared shipyards and crewed by both species working together. It had been exploring unknown space for 3 years now, pushing beyond the edges of charted territory. We're picking up a distress signal, reported the communications officer, a young Quillari named Pixnell. It's faint but definitely artificial. Distance is about 4 million km. Ryan checked the star charts. This region of space was supposed to be empty. No colonies, no trade routes, no reason for anyone to be here. Can you identify the source? Pixel worked her console for a moment. It's using Old Vel Consortium encryption protocols. The message is automated, repeating every 30 seconds. They're reporting critical life support failure. The Vel Consortium. Ryan remembered his history. They were one of the 3 major powers that had dominated the galaxy for centuries before the Conquered changed everything. They had tried to destroy the Quillari economically. They had opposed the mutual aid Conquered. At every turn, they had spent decades trying to maintain the old order, where power and profit were all that mattered. Now they were dying. Ryan looked at his first officer, Kixon, the great-granddaughter of the merchant who had saved the Wanderer 150 years ago. She was young but capable, and she understood the weight of history better than most. What do you think? Ryan asked Kixon's Mandibles clicked thoughtfully. They would not help us if our positions were reversed. The Vel Consortium tried to destroy my people. They opposed everything the Concordat stands for. That's not what I asked, Ryan said. Gently, the Quillery officer was quiet. For a long moment, then she straightened, set course for the distress signal, full speed. The Unity dropped out of hyperspace near a damaged Vel merchant ship. It was old, probably a private trader operating on the fringes of what remained of Consortium territory. The hull showed signs of weapons fire and meteor impacts. Life support was failing. Without help, the crew would be dead within hours. Ryan opened a channel. This is Captain Foster of the exploration vessel Unity. We received your distress call. What is your situation? The face that appeared on the screen was female Vel, grayskin with the distinctive ridge patterns of her species. She looked exhausted and shocked. You're human. And Quillari, yes, Ryan said simply. Do you need assistance? Our engines are destroyed, the Vel captain said slowly. We were attacked by raiders. We've been drifting for 8 days. Life support is almost gone. She paused, studying Ryan's face. Why did you respond? Our people, our old enemies, were, Kixon said from her station. Were old enemies. That was a long time ago. The rescue took 6 hours. The Unity's engineering teams worked alongside Vel crew members to stabilize the damaged ship. They transferred fuel, medical supplies, and spare parts. They gave navigation data to the nearest safe port. Ryan watched his people work and felt proud. They didn't hesitate. They didn't question. They just helped the way the Concordat had taught them. When the work was finished, Ryan invited the Vel captain to meet face to face in one of Unity's conference rooms. Her name was Saren, and she looked uncomfortable as she sat across from a human in Aquilari. I don't understand, she said finally. The Vel Consortium tried to destroy the Quillari. We oppose the conquered. We represent everything your alliance was built to resist. Why help us? Why? Ryan pulled up a display showing a very old ship, the Golden Wing from 150 years ago. This merchant vessel saved 3,000 dying humans. The captain was Quillari. He gave half his fuel, most of his supplies, everything he could spare. When the human captain asked what payment he wanted, he said none. He just helped because it was the right thing to do. Saren stared at the image. One act of kindness, and you built an entire civilization around it. Not just one act, Kixon said. That was the first, but humanity remembered it, they honored it, and they taught the rest of us to do the same. Now the Concordat includes 93 species. We help each other. We remember when we're helped, and we pass that kindness forward, even to enemies, Sarathan said quietly. Even to people who used to be enemies, Ryan corrected. The galaxy has changed in the last 50 years. The old powers, the ones built on fear and profit, they're crumbling. The Krev Dominion is a shadow of what it was. The Vel Consortium is fractured. The Axion Collective has isolated itself completely. You know why, Sir? Ethan shook her head. Because you can't compete with genuine cooperation, Ryan explained. You can't intimidate people who have friends willing to defend them. You can't economically strangle traders who have access to an entire network of partners. The old tactics don't work anymore. The galaxy learned a new way, and now you're Teaching me, Sithan said, by saving me. Kixon leaned forward. My great-grandfather saved humans because he believed they would do the same for others. He was right, they did. They saved my people. They saved dozens of other species. They built something beautiful based on one simple idea. Kindness matters. Memory matters. Treating people well has value. Ryan pulled up another display. This one showed the kindness archive now, maintained by every concorded species. Millions of entries, acts of kindness, large and small, remembered and honored. Across generations, this is what we're building, he said, a civilization that doesn't forget the good things people do, that rewards kindness instead of punishing it, where helping strangers isn't seen as weakness but as the highest form of strength. Sir Ethan looked at the endless list of names and dates. And you'll add me to this even though I never helped you before today. We're adding you because we helped you today, Ryan said. Someday maybe you'll help someone else. Maybe you'll teach them what we taught you. That's how this works. The kindness spreads. 3 days later, the Unity saw Siren's ship safely deport. As they prepared to depart, the Vel captain sent one final transmission. I'm going to tell everyone what happened here, she said. The Vel Consortium needs to know that the galaxy has changed, that the old ways are dying. Some won't listen, but some will. Quote, Ryan smiled. That's all we ask. We're not trying to destroy the old powers. We're just showing them a better way. Join us or don't, but understand that we're building something that will outlast all of you. The Unity jumped back into hyperspace and continued its exploration mission. Over the next few months, they encountered 7 more ships in distress. They helped all of them: pirates, traders, refugees, explorers, species that were Concordat members and species that weren't. It didn't matter. The Unity helped because that was what they did. Ryan sat in his quarters one night updating the ship's log. He thought about Daniel Carter, the captain, who had made the first promise 150 years ago. We will remember the Quellari. We will answer if they ever need us. That promise had changed the galaxy. He thought about all the people who had built on that promise. Lisa Monroe, who had honored the debt 50 years ago. Peter Grant, who had formalized the Concordat. Christine Hayes, who had defended the Quellari against invasion. Thousands of humans and aliens working together, all because one merchant had chosen kindness. His door chimed. Kix entered carrying 2 cups of tea. She handed one to Ryan and sat down. I was thinking about my great-grandfather, she said quietly. He died never knowing what his simple act of kindness would create. He just saw people dying and helped them. Would he be proud? Ryan asked. Kix's mandibles clicked in. What he had learned was the Quellari equivalent of a smile. I think he would be amazed. 1 fuel transfer, that's all it was. Half a ship's reserves given to strangers, and it changed the entire galaxy. It's still changing, Ryan said. Every time we help someone, every time we show them there's a better way, the change spreads a little more. They sat together in comfortable silence, drinking tea and watching the stars. Unity was far from home, exploring regions no one had ever seen, but they carried home with them Clear's throat. The idea that kindness mattered, that memory was sacred, that civilization was built on how you treated people when they needed help. Back in civilized space, the mutual aid concordant continued to grow. The old powers continued to shrink, unable to adapt to a galaxy where fear and greed were no longer the dominant forces. New species joined the Concordat every year, attracted by the promise of genuine cooperation and mutual support. The Kindness Archive grew larger. Millions of entries became tens of millions, acts of kindness remembered across centuries, honored by species who hadn't even existed when the original favors were done. Children across 93 different species learned the same stories. Captain Zixthar and the Golden Wing, the Thranari vaccine ship, the Hask engineer, thousands of moments when someone chose to help for no reason except that it was right, and they learned the promise that humanity had made and kept for 150 years. We remember, we will always remember, and we will honor the debts we owe, no matter how long it takes, no matter what it costs. The galaxy had learned that humans never forgot a kindness. They had learned it through action, through sacrifice, through unwavering commitment to a simple principle, and in learning it, the galaxy itself had changed. Ryan finished his log entry and sent it to Earth. It would be added to the permanent archives, part of the long record of humanity's journey through the stars. Future generations would read it and understand this was who they were. This was what they stood for. In the darkness of unexplored space, the Unity flew on, carrying its message of hope and kindness to whatever they found. Next, behind them, a galaxy transformed. Ahead of them, infinite possibilities. And through it all, the promise remained. Humanity never forgot a kindness. The galaxy had felt it.